Okay, I'm back, and it's sometime about the 12th or 13th of October. I should have looked this up before I started, but too late now. So this video is about what might be going on when the fool meets judgment, because I did this series called The Fool's Journey, and so we looked at what would happen when the fool met the magician, the high priestess, and so on, all the way through the major trumps. And this one is about what might happen when he meets judgment in his maybe his ongoing education as he encounters the various other major trumps. So I'm going to be saying that judgment, it's not so much about being judged by some powerful force, or maybe being punished if in some way you've been bad or disobedient. I'm going to say that the judgment card is a more positive message in that it shows renewal, because the people in the card, they were in a coffin and the lids of the coffin have been removed, and so they're free in a way that they weren't before. Because the people can now get out from their enclosed space, all right, and there's new life. But this new life, it's like more of you, so that you live better and more fully, and it's not something different from what you already are. So I think it's about being true to yourself and living more fully as yourself. It's been a while since I uploaded something in this series. I thought I'd finished it, but then, because I'd made notes and thought I'd made the video, but then a couple of people pointed out that the fool meets judgment didn't exist. So this is rectifying that situation. So because it's been a while since I did this, I'd like to in the video that you're going to see in a minute, I'd like to backtrack a bit to the devil and work quickly through those few cards before we get to judgment. And I used to do these videos with a close-up of the card on screen. So I'm going to go back to that old presentation. So in a moment, I'm going to cut the other video with this one. And that's it. So I hope you enjoy it. If you have comments or questions, let me know. And I may put a bit of video at the end. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, so we're going to go back a little bit in the fool's journey, right? And if we go back to the devil, he meets the devil, and the devil represents lots of things, but generally negativity and being trapped, because we see the people attached to the half cube, and they have only limited freedom of movement, right? So the devil can represent being trapped or being chained to conditions that restrict your freedom. So this next is the tower, and so we can say that this lack shown by the devil, or being unable, that is changed with the tower, because the lightning knocks the people from the tower, but it looks like this release leads to more difficult messes to clean up. However, the fool can learn that it only seems destructive if you've stopped promoting conditions where growth can take place, or if you've stopped being the kind of person who is interested in growth taking place. So if you become stagnant, being stagnant and doing nothing can only last for so long before life has to make a fresh start. And this can be what the tower represents, that time or that situation where there has to be change, there has to be a new beginning. So let's say the fool sees and appreciates this with the star. And the star can be the first steps of hope and inspiration, right? So when he meets the star, the fool begins to imagine what's possible. Even though it's a long way away, or even if it's off into the future, he's got his eye or his imagination on a distant or a kind of situation that he would like, that is life-giving and interesting and the kind of thing that the fool wants. But we don't go straight there, because the first card, or the first number after the star, is the moon card. And this represents a challenge for the fool in his or her new state of understanding, right? Because it's the moon and it's nighttime and it's dark and we see reflections and there are shadows and so on. So the challenge with the star card can be stick with what is true and what you know. And if you do that, it's going to produce more and better life. Or else you can take the other side, which is to give in to fear and panic and other anxieties that are kind of dreamed up by the imagination. Then it's followed by the sun. So the brightness and warmth of the sun, we can look at that as the benefit that the fool experiences once he moves into the light of day. Right, it's daylight, so you can see more clearly now. And because it's the sun, and maybe because the child is here, representing youth and energy, so the fool is energized and ready to make progress. He's ready to plan and execute, put things into motion, and do what it takes to reach the goal. He doesn't need permission from his superiors or from other people. He doesn't have to justify his decisions. He knows what he wants. He just needs to do it. And this means that when he meets judgment, this one, card number 20, he knows what to do. But he has to get clear about his relationship with life and its possibilities as represented by the angel blowing the trumpet. So we can look at this picture, and the angel blowing the trumpet seems to have animated the people, or in some way the trumpet sound caused the lids of the coffins to be moved so that people can be freed. Right, they're standing up, they're looking at the angel. So we might look at the scene and decide that it shows that the angel or some higher power is making a judgment, and that's the name of the card, judgment. So it's making a judgment from on high, as if it's deciding the fate of the people. Or maybe it's intervening, which is a bit like interfering in a good way in their lives, because the angel seems to be bringing about improvement, but it's still the idea that it depends on this higher force to wake us or to create conditions where we can become ourselves. So we can think that we should be obedient and do as we're told, and that things will work out. Right? So this can lead to a kind of resigned attitude, however, right? Because you can, in Thelma and Louise says at one point, you get what you settle for. And that's kind of like, take what life gives you and be grateful, because you're not going to get much anyway. So there's not much point in trying. And so looking at the judgment card in that way is one way of looking at things, but we have to wonder if that's really what's going on. Because if you put a lighted match into a barrel of gunpowder and you get blown up, it's not because the gunpowder didn't like you or wanted to punish you. It was because it was gunpowder and you put a flame near it. It's a law of chemistry, and the result was to be expected. So judgment in this card, for some people, or maybe we could say for regular people, it's going to be as if some deity, the card represents some deity is going to punish you because you disobeyed, or you should have known better, or because you're wicked in some way. And that's what we can think when we think of judgment. But the fool on his journey through the major trumps is no longer at this point regular people. He's been changed by his meetings with the other earlier cards, or he's been changed by what he has learned or what he has been taught. And we can say that the journey itself represents him or her learning a more complete way of being, or learning to use and increase the strength of his intelligence. So instead of him or her being judged, he or she is the one who's doing the judging. So this can be pointing to the importance of using your own judgment and using your intelligence to see what's going on. We know the idea of cause and effect. right? Effects or results don't just happen by themselves, but they have causes. So the fool with this card can begin to understand cause and effect and put the right cause into action to get the result that he wants. At the same time, it may be that he's going to recognize that if you don't want something to come about because you know where it's going to lead, or you know what actions will, what the result is going to be, then you don't set whatever it is in motion. So if you don't like the outcome of the result, forget about changing the outcome directly. Instead, you change the cause. Don't keep doing the same thing and expect a different result, because that's not what's going to happen. Also, the fool can realize that we're creative. I mean, people are creative and they can make some things come about, as can you. Right? So a song doesn't just compose itself, or a book doesn't write itself, or a school doesn't build itself and educate people. It starts with people who have ideas that they want to see set up or completed or developed. At the same time, though, we can want contradictory things, right? Or we can want two situations that can't exist at the same time or in the same place. And even if we don't realize that we're having contradictory thoughts, we're creative, so we're still bringing about both of them at the same time. But what we're doing in that case is we're producing confusion or getting in our own way. Right? So you can want a promotion at work, but at the same time you can want to spend more time with your family. And when practically, realistically, you can't have both. Because if you want the promotion, it requires more time spent at work. And so that's time that you can't spend with your children. Right? So if you want, it's interesting to realize what it is that we want, and when we're asking for two things and we can't have both of them. But the creative thought or the creative power of your thinking goes in to make both of them come about, and they cancel each other out, or they contradict each other, or we get in our own way. So we get something, but we don't recognize that we wanted it, right? Because we wanted the jumble, the mixed up promotion and time, and it doesn't work. So with judgment and using our intelligence and thinking about cause and effect, we have the chance to be clear about what we want. And we have the chance to use intelligence and judgment when it comes to setting out the path we will travel. We should use, or we can use, our own judgment to decide what it is that we want. So the angel may be blowing the trumpet, but that doesn't mean that other people or other forces are supposed to make our decisions for us. The fool realizes that we're not on the receiving end of somebody else's creation, or that we aren't just on the receiving end, but we have the opportunity to cooperate or assist in producing our own good. So that's something about the judgment card. And after this, there's a video about The Fool Meets the World somewhere on YouTube. If you Google it, you can finish the series of videos. That, I think, is it. And so there'll be something else in about a week's time. Okay, thanks a lot. Okay, I decided to put a little bit of video at the end, and mainly to say there's going to be something next weekend. So if you look for that, there'll be something. I'm not quite sure what it's going to be about. But the other thing is to remind you, there is the new free membership site at learn.dynamic-tarot.com. So if you're in the mood, go there, sign up, and you get access to text and video and audio that isn't the same as you get on YouTube. Okay, thanks a lot. And if you have comments or questions, leave a comment down below or send me an email. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.